I request Mr. R.P. Gupta to please come forward and accept our welcome sapling. Thank you so much, sir. Now I request Mr. Stan Naik to come forward and accept our welcome sapling. Thank you so much, sir.
May I request Mr.
Every person is the right person to act. Every moment is the right moment to begin. With this, I would like to call upon Professor Dr. Sutapa Pati, Dean, School of Sustainability, to deliver today's welcome address.
Thank you and good morning, everyone. It gives me immense joy that we are today, together on the occasion of a conference organized by School of Sustainability on green hydrogen, India's energy transition. Firstly, welcome Shri Rajendra Gupta ji. He has been a founding industrialist for the state, and it's a rich experience. He has seen how difficult energy, for the industry has been, and we want a context setting from historical perspective from him. A hearty welcome to Mr. San Naik. He is a young, global, I would say, technocrat in the field of oil and gas, hydrogen, and I'm very proud that he has come back to the state and he is looking from investments in India and Odisha perspective. Welcome again, Mr. San Naik. Welcome, Father. He has a very busy schedule. He is still managed to join us for the inauguration. Thank you so much, Father, for always standing by the school. I would like to welcome each one of you. My friend, Shri Akshay Sahu, he is a journalist, and I'm requesting him. He travels across state to document sustainability, matters, and I request you to support all our students' activities as well. Thank you so much, Shri Akshay. I welcome Shri Siddharth, who is from Shivom Minerals, and thank you so much to starting a new association. I would say it all started with Professor Arup guiding a capstone project for UG student, Vihan Chandi. And when he presented to all our faculty members his capstone, it was so heartening to see the level they had gone, that they had gone. And it was a thought that why under his coordinatorship, all students come together and create a discussion in a trending topic, which is of so much importance for the country. We say about $1 billion investments, from which Niti Aayog is projecting its fourfold increase of demand of hydrogen. And we have technical experts to talk about that today. I see a lot of aggression, almost as if things are happening parallelly. We research on organizations, academicians are not ready, but we are seeing a lot of operational, logistics getting ready. So all of us have to get ready at a very urgency mode to discuss, debate, and implement, the hydrogen context. Thank you so much, all of you, for coming. Congratulations, Professor Arup. And I was looking at the report. Congratulations, dear students. It's so difficult, all of you together, coming together and doing your bit. And thank you, everyone.
In order to understand the context of today's conference, I would like to call Professor Dr. Arup Roy to just give a brief understanding of green hydrogen.
Good morning to all. India's commitment to achieve net zero emission by 2070 is akin to me just walk the talk on the climate crisis, but running the talk. The data reveal that CO2 emission in 2021 were 2,648 megaton, making India is the third country that emit the most CO2 in that calendar year. Per capita CO2 emission in India have increased in 2021, which is 1.9 ton per inhabitant, and India has emitted 0.28 kilos CO2 for every $1,000 of GDP in 2021. The electricity generation sector has started making strides in transitioning to cleaner source of energy through solar and wind. However, there are industrial sectors where greenhouse gas emissions are much harder to eliminate, such as steel milling, oil refinery, and fertilizer plant and transport sector. In this context, experts say that green hydrogen assume importance if developing countries are to reduce their emission intensity while maintaining their economic momentum. Green hydrogen is made by breaking down water in an electrolyzer using renewable energy, which result in no carbon emission. The hydrogen can be combined with nitrogen to make a green ammonia. Green ammonia is used to store and make the fertilizer. Green hydrogen could become an alternative to coal in steel milling, fossil fuel in the long-haul transport like shipping and trucking. Green hydrogen may also play a crucial role also for the global decarbonization. In India has set a target of annual green hydrogen production capacity of 25 million tons by 2047. Over the next decade, the country planned to add 175 gigawatt of green hydrogen-based energy. The nation's green hydrogen missions announced in 2021 will see a rapid expansion in production, making India's green hydrogen hub. Although green hydrogen could be a viable way to cut down carbon emissions, major challenging remain in scaling up the technology and making it cost effective. According to European Commission Hydrogen Strategy paper published in July 2020, green hydrogen produced with the renewable energy costs between 3 to 6.55 per kg compared to fossil fuel based hydrogen that cost around $1.8 per kg, and in India production cost of green hydrogen is around rupees 500 per kg according to government officials. Government expected to reduce the cost of manufacturing by 40 to 50% through the policy incentives. In this context, we are looking forward to hear from the expert about the opportunity and challenges of India's energy transition through green hydrogen. I must say thank you to all for your gracious presence. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for giving us an idea about today's theme. Moving on, we now cordially invite respected Registrar, Father Dr. S. Anthony Raj S.J. to the dais to deliver today's inaugural address. So,
Professor Sutapa Pati, respected Dean, School of Sustainability, Sri Jukta Rajendra Prasad Gupta, Founder Director, Shivas Cement Limited, an advisor in Shivam Minerals Limited, guests from Shivam Minerals and Shivas Cement Limited, Sri Jukta Sanan Nayak, Head, Green Hydrogen Canyon Consultancy Private Limited, dear panelists, those who have joined, especially online, Dr. Arup Roy, the coordinator for today's conference, faculty colleagues, and my dear students. Even as we are doing a post-mortem of COP 27, which just concluded in November this month, 19th, in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt. Even as we get ready for the Conference of the Parties 28 in Dubai. We are at this moment busy discussing the decisions and the commitment that was done in COP26, especially with regard to the green hydrogen. So, we are still busy with the agenda of the Conference of the Parties 26 agenda. And in a way, we are not late, because if what we heard from the thematic address by Dr. Arup Roy, if we have to achieve or work on the Sustainable Goal, Development Goal 7, ensuring access to affordable, reliable, sustainable and modern energy for everyone. And if we are true to our own net zero ambitions as a developing country, there is indeed a need for urgent and collective action from a multitude of stakeholders, academia included. So there needs to be a continuous, ongoing dialogue between policymakers, investors, and the academia. And Exim University, true to its own mission of next practice research, especially in the field of sustainability, which is one of our values, we have been focusing especially on three things so far. 2 years ago, we had our discussions, our dialogue on non-fossil power sources. And this year, we had a dialogue, a discussion on new mobility solutions. And now, today, we gather as an academic community, together with all our partners, Hindalco included, and now Shivam and Mr. San Nayak representing the green hydrogen projects. We are engaging ourselves at this moment on the third thing that is necessary of green hydrogen. So if you work consistently on these three of cultivating non-fossil power sources, new mobility solutions, and green hydrogen, time is not far when we will be able to achieve our net zero ambition. Therefore, I wish the very best of engaging dialogue during the course of the day among ourselves, and let this be a mutually benefiting exercise for the academia as well as all the stakeholders. God bless us all. Thank you.
Thank you, Father, for your warm welcome and well wishes. Now we have our first keynote address by Mr. Eric Solheim. Mr. Eric Solheim is the chair of the Development Roundtable Green Hydrogen Organization. Due to his occupied schedule, Mr. Solheim will address us via a pre-recorded video.
Speak to young people in Bhubaneswar. for sure, other places in India and the world. I think you're all aware that we have a triple environment crisis in the world. We have massive pollution, not least in many cities in northern India like Delhi and others. We have climate change, which is a threat to India through cyclones hitting the state of Odisha or many other places. And we have destruction of nature, rainforests or ecosystems being destroyed, and a number of animals being wiped out. That's the bad news about the world today. But the good news is even much more important. We have all the policies, all the technologies, and all the money we need to fix these crises. And for the first time in human history, we have the win-win proposition. In the past, if you wanted to develop, if you wanted to get rich, if you wanted to bring every Indian out of poverty, well, there was a price to be paid. It was called pollution or destruction of nature. Now, 21st century is very, very different. Now, if you move from coal into solar and wind power, you save money, which can be used for education and health. You create more jobs, which young Indians need, and you do much better for Mother Earth and nature. So it's triple win, good for economy, good for health and people, and good for everyone, all these green policies. And that's of course what India is doing at the moment. No one should blame India for the climate crisis. That's completely nonsense. In the climate talks in Glasgow last year, some Western NGOs and politicians and even media, they said, oh, India is to be blamed for climate change. But please become real. The United States of America, up to today, has emitted 25 times as much as India per capita. 25 times. Even this year, the United States is emitting a lot more per capita than India, because no one should blame India for climate change. But that, fortunately, is not the issue. The issue is, can India contribute to the solution, which India is now doing at a big scale. Prime Minister Modi is leading a very positive transformation of India into going green. Businesses in India, the big players like Adani and Ambani, are going green at fast speed. But there was any number of smaller companies. You have Ola making electric vehicles, you have Renew making solar and wind, you have so many other companies. So business is going green, and of course the people of India demand green solutions. This is exactly what's now happening also in all other parts of the world. China is the world leader on all green technologies. 82% of all solar panels in the world last year were made in China. 70% of all electric batteries last year were made in China. China is going green at a very, very high speed. But in Europe, you see the same. The European Union has made the Green New Deal for Europe. They have made the green taxonomy for Europe. All this to drive investments into the green, stop coal investments, and move into solar and wind and green hydrogen. And added to all this, in the United States of America, President Joe Biden just could pass in the Congress his big climate program at the cost of $370 billion. That's an enormous amount of crore rupees. This will be used for charging stations and for so many other green technologies in the United States. So yes, China, India, Europe, the three biggest economies in the world, are now all going green at a rapid speed. We need to speed up. We need to do faster. The direction is good. And India fits very well into this, and let me suggest 4 areas where young Indians like yourself can contribute to the green solution, and where India is now rapidly moving in the right way. First, please be advocates, be ambassadors for solar energy and all renewable energies. Please ask if solar energies can be put on the on the roofs in your village, on the roofs at the parking lot, at the school or university, wherever you are, ask for solar panels to be put up on roofs or in empty spaces. That creates great green energy, which India and the world needs. And Prime Minister Modi is of course leading this charge. And every day there are new green initiatives coming up somewhere in India. Tamil Nadu establishing great solar parks. Prime Minister, the Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh trying to make solar in all the Vishayas in Madhya Pradesh, and business coming up with new solar solutions all over India. That's number one, the ambassador for green solar energy, for wind and for green hydrogen, and ask it to be put up everywhere. Second, be ambassadors for green mobility. Last month I visited Ola, which is, as you know, the car sharing company in India, that is also now has set up a huge factory for electric scooters in Tamil Nadu. 2,000 young ladies, all girls, are there making scooters for the Indian market. Very soon they will make electric batteries. Very soon they will make four-wheelers, all for India and the world. And their slogan is very simple: Tesla for the West, Ola for the West. And India has an enormous opportunity to make all buses based on solar and renewable energies, electricity, and to make two-wheelers and three-wheelers going green. So please, when anyone in your family buy a new car, also consider an electric car. Please consider electric two-wheelers and three-wheelers if you buy something for yourself. And please ask the bus companies to go green and buy electric buses. Electric buses are now taking off in all major cities all over India. Just last week I spoke to the transport minister of Delhi, and he wants to make all buses in India electric very fast. Thirdly, I encourage you to be ambassadors for green solutions. Tree planting. The Chief Minister of the state of Madhya Pradesh, he is planting one tree every day. That creates a small forest just by himself, but it was much more importantly, he inspired 80 million people in the state of Madhya Pradesh to do tree planting. A small NGO called Save Trees, they have established now 30 small urban parks in the city of Bengaluru, making it a more lively city, making it greener, and contributing to climate solutions. And the city of Hyderabad just declared the green city of the world for 2022 in competition with Paris, other cities. So it's a great achievement for Hyderabad, and it speaks loudly to all the green parks and solutions which have come up in Hyderabad. And fourthly, be ambassadors for a green circular economy. We cannot throw away every time we want a new cell phone, we can just throw it away, and just throw away computers or whatever it may be. Air conditioning, TV sets, they need to be recycled. There's a great company in India called Aptero. They can take apart everything from a phone or a computer, and they can recycle all the elements of that into new products. But there is more gold, you won't believe it, but there is more gold in 1 kilo of recycled electronics than there is in the gold of in nature. So let's start recycling economy or electronics. And for sure, let's do the same when it comes to plastic. Why can't we drink from normal cups like this? Do we really need plastic cups or plastic cutlery or plastic glasses? And then our parents and grandparents, they're all happy to drink from glass cups, and we can do the same. So let's get rid of all the single-use plastic we do not need, which is destroying whales and seabirds and camels and cows. Cannot allow that this to happen. It's also dangerous for our health because you get small fragments of plastic in let's move into a circular economy where we recycle the plastic we do need.
Hope all of us get a found idea of what exactly the conference is all about. And now, as our final speaker for the morning session to address us, I would like to call Mr. Rajendra Prasad Gupta, who is Independent Director of Shiva Cement Limited and advisor in Shivam Minerals Limited. So, please come.
Respected members of the dais, respected panelists, and my sons and daughters. It gives me immense pleasure to put my views in front of this august gathering. First thing, I am indeed happy that this university is providing innovative skills to young talents that needs applaud to both students and universities. Putting up your efforts and knowledge and analysis in such reports, this is the true service to nation, to my opinion. Anyway, looking to my 50 years career as a management student, I would say, while managing the business, I would suggest that you should also analyze the challenges, advantages, and disadvantages, and most important is the viability studies. All these efforts will give India for right framing of the policy, framing of the right policies. I believe for the sustainability, when we talk about the sustainability, we have to strike a balance between the current and future sustainability. I believe that every nation must spend some amount of its current earning for the future sustainability. But at the same time, I reserve my comment that such spending should not disturb our current sustainability. So a typical balance is required between the both. Now coming to the history of hydrogen, I am sure in the report you might have discussed, but I would like to place in brief. 1800, the electrolysis process was discovered. Water electrolysis and for producing the hydrogen. In 1838, the first hydrogen fuel cell was developed for generating electricity. In 1960, General Electric USA, they developed a hydrogen fuel cell for generating electricity for the space mission. Then in 2013, West Germany, the first commercial 2 megawatt electricity power generating plant was developed on the pilot scale. 2 megawatt is small plant. In 2016, Toyota, it rolled out world first hydrogen fuel cell car. And 2018, Germany rolled out the first hydrogen powered train, passenger train. So this is how After 1960, some interest started in the hydrogen, and after 2010, it has gained the momentum. I remember in my student career at NIT Rourkela in 1968, about 55 years back, we had prepared a report on alternate energy, envisaging tidal, geothermal, that time solar also, and hydrogen also. That time, of course, on hydrogen, I do not know the current status, but it was like MHD, magnet hydrodynamics. I do not know its current status. So it has been a alternate energy in the various form has been a topic of interest for the entire world since long. But at the same time, I fully agree that coal and petroleum reserves are finite. It is not infinity. And we have to find out for the future sustainability, so-called renewable energy like solar, hydrogen and all that. Hydrogen is abundant in the universe. Hydrogen in form of atom, it is 84 to 90% in the universe. In that context, the present topic becomes quite interesting. But let me tell you, hydrogen is not a primary energy. It is not available in the original form. It is to be produced. It is to be produced, and as per the current technology available, the energy requirement for producing the hydrogen will be around 35 to 40%. That means net of 60 or 65% energy will be available. But I believe, and it is to be stored also, what I say 35 to 40% energy, it is both for production and storage. But I believe in the future, research technologies will come in which we can reduce the energy consumption for storage and production and all that. There are some literatures available that by use of catalysts and magnets, probably the energy can come down, but it needs a study and research. Considering the current status, what the technology we have, in my opinion, it might be a bit controversial, but I believe that I do not find a great rationale for using hydrogen for the bulk power generation. Till the research and technologies we find and establish the economical solutions, but it's a good substitute of oil and natural gas, provided we resolve transportation, storage, and economic viability problem. At the same time, in the short or medium term, I feel hydrogen has got a good scope for exports. Why I say exports? The Western countries, their per capita income is higher. Their problem of carbon emission is much higher. They can afford probably by paying little more for the green energy and buying the hydrogen. So we must, in a short or medium term, how to export and how to produce this thing, that we should work. In fact, the genesis of this thought, this theory of the oxygen, as our chairman told, from COP26, that started. In COP26, India promised net zero emission by 2070. And that's why the government policy was centered how to reduce the carbon emission through solar power and hydrogen and all that. But in my opinion, as a management student, I call myself as a management student for 50 years. So by profession, I was an engineer, not a management student. We should not intermix energy and carbon emission. Those are related also, but they are altogether a different problem, having a different priorities. In my view, importance of energy must be the topmost, because for developing nation or any nation, it is next to food. After food, if you ask me, which is the important, probably second will be the water, third will be the energy. And the consumption of energy in India grows at the rate of 1.2 of GDP growth. If we are growing at 7%, it will be something like 8.5% additional energy what we require. So, for current sustainability, we must ensure cheap and affordable energy, and import dependency must also reduce. When we talk about the energy, I am coming to the carbon emission also. Now, coming to carbon emission, let us agree it is a global phenomenon, not limited to India. On the contrary, per capita consumption in India is hardly 1.8 to 1.9 ton, as against 16 ton in USA and about 8 ton in China. Hence, I feel the larger responsibility must be on the developed nation, but at the same time, as a global citizen, we cannot wash out our hand. We have to cooperate within our means, as I told, with a reasonable compromise with the current sustainability. And another thing is, carbon emission, when you make a share, only 35% carbon emission is from the energy. What about balance 65%? Why don't we attack that balance 65% if the carbon emission is our target? 8% is from your transport, from industry it is 28%, and when we say industry, majority of that carbon emission is from the metal, cement and refineries, all core sectors. We can't stop the production. We can develop the green technologies in due course. We can't stop the production. We can't make the production so that production cost becomes higher. Surprisingly, carbon emission from the agriculture, it is 18%. That is what a vast scope to reduce it. Likewise, I believe, first we should, when we talk about the carbon emission, we should first attack on low-hanging fruits. What are those low-hanging fruits? Say for example, forestation. Do you know that out of the total forest land, less than 10% is dense forest, 40% is moderate forest, and 50% no forest. This breakup I am giving among the earmarked land for forest. Why can't we increase the forestation at least from 10% to 25% or 30% or 40%, or then make out a plan that will cover up this much? That is more easier and with less costlier. Because as I told, in management, the resources are to be managed, problems are to be solved within the resources. Now agriculture. China has done it. You know, in rice cultivation, lot of methane is generated. It's substantial. and by water sprinkler, the methane emissions will come down, and surprisingly the productivity will go up. Per acre productivity will go up. Why can't we do it? It will be win-win situation for the farmers, for the climate. As you know all, methane has got some 20 times or 24 times more effect in terms of the carbon. Same thing, human waste and animal waste and methane generation. It causes pollution also, it causes human carbon emission also, and it's substantial quantity. Why can't we make it a productive use? There's something like gobar gas, something like from human waste we can generate the power. We don't have a solution on both the sides. We generate the power, we reduce the pollution, we reduce the carbon emissions. And last but second thing I believe, no problem, again I'm telling as a management student, no problem can be eliminated. Typically, we involve 3R theory: reduce, replace, or recycle. Why can't we save the energy? There is a lot of, I don't want to elaborate, lot of scope is there to save the energy. That is also energy we are saving, carbon emission we are saving. Say transport. Why don't we develop public transport? If we develop the public transport, energy we will be saving and pollution will also we will be saving. Same is theory applies for the recycle of so many items. That will save the energy in production and likewise. Sorry, I'm getting late. I'm setting the I believe the president's skills and knowledge should be shared. Now, national policies are to be framed, but simply it should not be limited to zero emission target. We have to make out the total plan in composite plan, not in isolation. Rather, I feel energy security and considering all these problems on the energy sector, it has to be suitably combined, and accordingly we should set a target for what we should do in this decade, what we should do in that decade, and all the research organizations, universities, they must be actively involved. Just now, Father was telling, if first it was announced, then we are following it up. I don't think it's the right process. First, the technicians, universities, research organizations, they have to make out the technical side, and based upon that, the policies are to be framed. It's my personal view. And as I told in the beginning, at the cost of current sustainability, extraordinary weightage for the future sustainability, I reserve my comment that requires a debate. I am in a favor that unless we think for the future sustainability, we talk only about the current sustainability, then our future generation will suffer. We have to strike a balance. This is what I want to say. We have to strike a balance between the two. And we should not run away from the global responsibility also. Everywhere what we need is a balance. In this line, I request Madam Pati and others that this is a good job, what your students have done. I suggest few more topics on the sustainability issue, which to my opinion, India is facing a lot. First is the water crisis. India is likely to face the water crisis in coming few years. Its glimpses are seen in the Tamil Nadu and a few belts. And these are the main problems. There is a solution to it. There is a solution within our resources, there is a solution to it. As I told in the beginning, methane from the rice cultivation, it's a cheaper solutions are available. And I believe carbon capture study has to be done. That could be also a future solution, because as I told, for single hydrogen or solar power is not going to give you the total solution for carbon emission or the energy problem. We have to adopt multiple things and then we arrive over there. So let's work on that carbon capture, energy saving, which I was talking, how to save the waste heat, how to generate from the waste heat and all that. And likewise, there is a scope of tidal and geothermal energy. As I told before, 68 years, we had written something in the report, I have forgotten, but there is a scope of that geothermal and tidal energy also. So likewise, such topics, you have a young talents and encourage them, dividing the group and encourage them. This will be really good service to the nation. I believe, I sincerely wish that this report, which has been prepared by the states, will certainly contribute to nation. I hope that such more supports shall be taken up in future. Anytime if my services are required by the states, I am open. And I also expect that university will also support states for taking up such innovative reports. Thanks to all. Thanks for the patient hearing. Thanks for giving us a first time an opportunity. Thank you very much. I wish good success to everybody.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your experience and knowledge with us. Moving on to the highlight of today's conference, we would like to invite all the dignitaries on the stage, along with Professor Dr. Vikrant Vijay Patil and Professor Dr. Elizabeth Abba, to officially publish the Green Hydrogen Report. We are proud to announce that we have published the same report on online platform on our school website. We request all of you to have a look at it. Thank you, teachers. All the students can now have a short tea break for 15 minutes. All are kindly requested to assemble back sharp at 11.
Green Hydrogen Canon Consultancy Private Limited. Mr. Santosh K. Gurunath, CEO and co-founder, Imagine. Dr. Kalpana Revadkar, Senior Research Scientist, Jackson India Private Limited. Finally, Mr. Sailesh Singhal, co-founder, Youth for Green Hydrogen. We would like to invite Professor Vikrant Vijay Patil on the dais to moderate the panel discussion further, sir.
A very good morning. A very good morning to everyone. I am grateful to Professor Arup Roy for considering me to be the coordinator for the panel discussion on green hydrogen, India's energy transitions. If I have to think from layman's perspective in the area of green hydrogen, or rather hydrogen as a fuel, there are already so many questions coming to our mind. These are the questions which pertain to the challenges and risks of managing hydrogen, usage of hydrogen as a fuel, various policies and frameworks related to hydrogen fuel, manufacturing of hydrogen, transportation of hydrogen. The list is endless. While we are trying to find out these answers, there's already so much happening in the world and at such a high pace as far as finding alternative fuel is concerned. We may feel that we have done a phenomenal progress as far as electric mobility is concerned, but they do have their own challenges, especially for long-haul trucks. Also, when it comes to fuel, again, from layman's perspective, we restrict our thoughts only towards automobile sector. However, there are a range of sectors that are looking towards decarbonization, especially from fuel usage perspective. And since decarbonization is necessity today, I'm highly hopeful that in near future, we will definitely come out with the solutions. And after today's panel discussions, we may have also realized that sustainable solutions to manufacture and use of hydrogen are already in place. I'm also happy that Professor Arup came up with this idea of having a conference on green hydrogen, as it is so timely in India. India has already committed to cut down its emissions to net zero by 2070. And as a country, we have invested phenomenal amount in solar. However, hydrogen as a fuel has a tremendous promise of achieving net zero well before 2070. Just a few days ago, Mr. Prabhat Kumar, an additional Secretary of External Affairs, Ministry of India, made a statement in one of the industry events that we are in a position to make green hydrogen our main source of energy in the future. It is just yesterday that our Prime Minister inaugurated first green hydrogen manufacturing plant at NTPC Kawas in Hazira. In his address, he said it is first manufacturing project of the country wherein hydrogen would be blended with CNG, thus offsetting major chunk of CNG that we are using today. I'm excited to see the business tycoons like Adani and Reliance are already investing so much in manufacture of green hydrogen and electrolyzers of green hydrogen respectively. Now, without wasting much of our valuable time, I would like to quickly move on to our panel discussion. As a moderator, let me set some gentle guidelines. Each panel member would be given 10 minutes to deliberate on the topic, followed by a 5 minutes of question and answer session. I would be notifying speaker about the time after 8 or 9 minutes, enabling them to wrap up on time. Consider this to be a polite gesture from my end to keep panel discussion on time. Now let me introduce with our first speaker. Our first speaker is Mr. Shailesh Singhal. Mr. Shailesh is the co-founder of Youth for Green Hydrogen. Mr. Shailesh has done his BSc in Economics, Mathematics and Statistics and LLB from Chaudhary Charan Singh University. Over the years, Mr. Shailesh has been working with various governmental and non-government organizations, which includes National Service Scheme, G200 associations, AISCC Bangalore, EONS, District Welfare Officer for Animal Welfare Board of India, Y20 Saudi Arabia, and was also a joint secretary at Gandhi Mandela Foundations. And his current was also parliamentary advisor to the government of India. We are very delighted to have Mr. Shailesh Singhal over here. Sir, can you hear us?
Yes, very well. Thank you so much for the introduction and the invitation.
Yeah. Thank you. All over to you, sir. You can start your talk.
Right. First, thank you so much. And I think please excuse me for my background and for my moving. I am on the road, and to be back to a Jesuit institution. I come from Jesuit institution myself, and there was no possibility that I could find myself at any verge of not attending such a beautiful conference. And I think it is so right to have this pretext in the context of the green hydrogen. I was in COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh, and I am going to share with you, I mean, of course, you have people from Shiva Cement, from other institutions who are going to share more technical side of the green hydrogen. But as you would have noticed, I'm a BSc in economics, mathematics, and then an LLB student, and then land up to do green hydrogen. Of course, our journey starts way long back from green hydrogen, before green hydrogen, when we used to work very closely with the United Nations and a lot of other international governments as well. But I say this is a story of a young man from an Eastern India who considered himself to be an accidental energy activist. And how did this happen? Earlier in the morning, when you had chance to hear from Mr. Eric Solheim, a recognized, renowned environmentalist, it was a dedication that we brought as young people. Yes, actions are good. Campaigning is good for net zero. When the Paris Agreement talked about the net zero emissions at the 1.5 degrees Celsius, of course, that is very good. But campaigning with active solutions is important. And we realized that the renewable energies is the prime source. It could be solar, it could be wind, it could be green hydrogen, thermal energy, and other aspects as well. And we launched this world's first youth activism on green hydrogen by the name Youth for Green Hydrogen from the northeastern part of India in Siliguri. And in just 7 months of time, we are so excited to share that we have mobilized young people from 78 countries to be talking about green hydrogen, to be leading green hydrogen. But when I started green hydrogen, I didn't know about it myself, to be honest. But the potential was immense. And I realized that when we had the first event in March this year, there was only 23% of young people in India and abroad, when we did a survey, understood what green hydrogen is. And in the past 7 months, that number from 20 plus has risen to 83. Now a lot of us would think what green hydrogen is. I mean, while I was there in Sharm, it was so delightful to realize and understand that now the world is facing multiple emergencies. Of course, driven by the climate inaction and the lack of responsibility of governments, of private sectors, and the greed that the humankind has taken over itself. But it is young people like you and I who come up with active solutions, where 18% of the global population is considered to be young, and the next 35% are to be skilled. I think the best energy transition, as it is also mentioned, and it was told by our honorable, by the moderator, on how a very recent approach was taken up by the government of India that we spent $160 billion annually as a foreign reserve, on foreign reserves on energy. Now, that very approach the Niti Aayog guidelines suggest on the 2030 and the 2047, where we want to become an energy efficient. Now, across the world that we could see, the kind of scaling, I mean, that could happen. And very yesterday, when we were present in an energy dependent conference in Italy, it was announced that a $30 billion investment is required by the year 2030. And of course, there are companies like Adani, like Ambani, who are actively driving this with a $70 billion Adani recently invested. But what is it for young people? Now, when you and I would graduate from an university, maybe from Xavier's, from St. Joseph's, or anywhere across the world, we would land up in a situation where we would require skills in green energy. Unfortunately, there are very limited institutions which are providing that. And I'm so glad when the first invitation was out that the Xavier's Institute of Management in Odisha could really take that up. And it is just not about the panel discussion. The most intriguing factor was also the quiz that was organized in and around circumnavigating on the renewable energy. But what is this green hydrogen? I will give you a very simple statistic that we, along with an Australian company, brought forward for Fortescue Future Industries. You know, a one bathtub of water can light 22 minutes of Sydney Opera House. Comparatively, where 50 kilograms of coal would be burnt, emitting 250 carbon dioxide units. Now, if you are traveling by car, 2,000 plus kilometers could be run on green hydrogen from just electrolyzing one bathtub of water. And of course, all of us have beautiful smartphones. 40,000 full charges can happen with just one tub of water, hot water. The tub water, the bathtub. I think this is exactly where the world is heading towards, the green energy. And some of these companies, while I was there speaking with some of these companies, even of course the chief sustainability officer from Adani Group, whom we shared the panel together in Spain, where the world's first youth declaration on green hydrogen was out. And it is essential and crucial to realize that the investments in innovation, investments in young people has to happen in skilling for green hydrogen. Why do you feel that the skilling would be important? Because tomorrow when the LinkedIn reports are out, there are only 1% of young people who are employed in green energy have the appropriate skills. That means if students from Sustainability Institute of Management passes out and go for a green renewable job or in any of these companies, we would have inadequate skills. And we believe that at Youth for Green Hydrogen, we have been mobilizing, curating such courses with over more than 200 universities across the world. And it is very interesting because when we talk about the Youth for Green Hydrogen, it is just not the young people that we believe in. Young people, intergenerational partnerships are important in driving green hydrogen. One of the very recent reports of Brookings suggested that 80% of young people are ready for energy transition. And absolutely, that's the point. We are ready. It is only that when you and I come together in advancing solutions, in urging governments, in curating policies, in creating an awareness, the importance about the green hydrogen, it becomes a common trend. It would not be easy for a complete transition from coal, from fossil fuels to green energy. But what is the best take that can happen? Something that really interesting happened in COP this year in Egypt. One, when the Brazil president came forward, Mr. Lula, saying that Brazil is back in climate action, and the entire Brazil echoed. Because Brazil, along with Norway, Indonesia, and other countries, were very crucial in driving the REAP+, which led to the entire revival of Amazon. And the COP in the year 2025 would see being hosted in Brazil or in some of the Amazon River. I think this crucial leadership by the heads of the institution, by the heads of the governments, just like how in our country the Prime Minister is committed in driving the green energy, from the largest solar to the largest biogas plants, down to the green energy in green hydrogen as well. With the first plant is set, and the government of Uttar Pradesh in Mathura is going to launch the biggest refinery as well. And the state policy on green hydrogen was also launched. And coming down to even government of Tamil Nadu, to, as a matter of fact to say, are committed in driving to green energy. Recently, Hyderabad was also awarded the green ecosystem parks by a very recognized institution on green energy in South Korea and Japan. The success stories on green energy is enormous, and I say this jokingly for some of these private companies and MNCs, that even the share market looks happier when you only see the green marks. And now investments by any of these, investments by any of these companies in green energy leads to those green marks in the share markets as well. So, I mean, I would be very happy to share more thoughts, but I think the overall idea would be that as you and I come together in curating skills for young people in green hydrogen, because we are committed in organizing the world's first youth assembly on green hydrogen in India next year, as India has taken over the G20 presidency as well, inviting young people from over 80 countries in driving that efforts, along with different companies as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Shailesh, I may have to ask you to stop, but we do have questions which I would like to discuss with you. Students have questions, which I would be asking you. So the first question here has come from our MBA student. Ms. Shrishti has asked this question, that EVs are already present in the market, but we still prefer conventional cars. What do you think could be the motivating factor for youth, especially people and youth, to shift to other renewable fuels?
Thank you so much, Shrishti, for that. I think you are so apt, so true. It is absolutely not easy. It is an integrated approach that has to take place. Any initiative that takes a change comes from a very top-down approach. It becomes a matter of style. Maybe some bigger influencers, actors would start driving maybe a green hydrogen car, and it would become a statement of fashion. Then it is the economies and the companies from across the world come together, and the scientists come together in also reducing the cost factor for it. Slowly and gradually, I think it becomes a normal trend. Exactly that has happened even with EV. First, it was a statement of fashion, and now it has slowly, gradually coming down to become a common means of transport. But this is absolutely important, that ecology and economy can go hand in hand. It is that when you and I start demanding, maybe we go out and buy Tata Green sports car, which is being run on renewable, on solar, the company has to slowly stop manufacturing these fossil fuel cars or find an alternative. So I think, yes, the cost is higher at this point of time. Maybe if you go for green hydrogen, it is 330, 350, even some of these companies would be able to more suggest that. But gradually, the idea is to bring down to $1. I mean, why can't India, as a big scale where 600,000 villages are there in the country, can produce green hydrogen in its own village as well? There was a very interesting report by a very fantastic scientist in South Korea, unfortunately, who has passed away, who was researching on how green hydrogen could be produced in the backyard of your villa as well.
Thank you. The next question is asked by Ms. Neha Satpathy. Are the generation, storage, transfer, and use of hydrogen thoroughly understood from the safety and operational perspective? Could you highlight on that?
Sneha, I would be very happy to take that, but I would really leave that on to some other technical experts who would be on the panel. But on a quick note, yes, there are challenges, and we'll have to collectively find a solution. At Youth for Green Hydrogen, we did sign an MOU with a company in America who claims to transport 100% green hydrogen because yes, hydrogen is volatile.
Keeping in mind, just now you mentioned about villages as well. So Taranjeet, again an MBA student, has asked an interesting question. How does Youth for Hydrogen involve local village communities in understanding the benefits of renewable energy and overcoming the challenges as far as the production of green hydrogen is concerned?
Right. I think this is very interesting. This is exactly the question that came up when we came back from Spain in launching the world's first youth declaration on green hydrogen, which I would really love for all of you to look at, which gives an holistic opinion and approach on renewable energies as well. And while we were there in Egypt, now a global green alliance, including solar, thermal, green hydrogen, has all come together in strengthening partnerships in driving green hydrogen in green energy across the world. Now, when you talk about the villages, I will not go into the technicalities of it. But yes, methane is one of the biggest aspects that we could look at. That is a CH4. And when you combust that down or break that down, there would be units of hydrogen. Now, the entire challenge would be, what are the standards being set to make sure that they are green? One. And secondly, how would we be able to make it more accessible and understanding for even a commoner villager? So I think it is only people like you and I, young people at different scopes, will come together in advancing solutions, in finding, in innovating that how can a green hydrogen units be accessible and be transportable and could be created at the backyards as well. There lies a very big question. But if a nation like India has to become Atmanirbhar by 2047, which is also the larger goal that the Youth of India Foundation has really set in the next 25 years. And to become an energy efficient, to say, it is only by enabling local villages and it is only by empowering green energy at those local units. But there lies a big answer to that. I think with your question, we will also have to collectively find a common solution.
Thank you, Shailesh. So, Shailesh interestingly shared his entire journey from an economist to the activist related to green hydrogen. He pressed on the need for campaigning with active solutions for green hydrogen. He also highlighted about Youth for Green Hydrogen to be the first activism which was driven specifically for green hydrogen. Gave some insights on how NITI Aayog guidelines and on energy emissions were formulated because of the events from COP26 and COP27. Also asked a very important question: what is it for young people who would be entering into mainstream jobs in future, wherein green hydrogen would be a major application? To also highlighted, do we really have those skills? And pressed for the importance of developing skills amongst the youth and investments which are driven towards the innovation and skill development for the youths. Right? Also highlighted about how they are also curating the various courses for green hydrogen and government's involvement in the green hydrogen. Thank you, Shailesh. It was a nice talk with you, and thank you for taking out time. I can see you are traveling, and I guess you must have given the talk riding on a two-wheeler because I could see you constantly moving, or through a sunroof. I don't know, but I really appreciate the effort. And would also request you to, if you have time, also please stay with us, because there are certain questions which I would be asking at the end, which are common for all the panelists. So be there with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. If I may, please humbly request that if I could maybe excuse myself,
Okay.
because I am on the sidelines of a national highway,
Okay.
and
Okay, okay.
But thank you so much. It was really a pleasure to join with each one of you. I'm eagerly looking forward to participate and work together as we work with all the young people across the globe. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So now, friends, we move on to our second speaker, Mr. Santosh Gurunath. Mr. Gurunath is a founder of Imagine, which works in the area of developing low carbon hydrogen economy. Mr. Gurunath is a mechanical engineer from NIT Calicut and has done his MSc from Delft University of Technology, Netherlands. In 13 years of his career, he had worked with companies like Shell, McKinsey, Boston Consulting Group, Alcatron Mobility. His forte lies in the areas of green hydrogen, oil, and chemical consultancy, etc. All over to you, Santosh. It is very nice to have you over here as one of the panelists.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Vikram. You can hear me well, right?
Yeah, I can hear you and we can see you very well. Thank you.
Great, great, great. So I had a couple of slides. I'm not sure if that's being presented or should I just talk through what
you can present. We will enable you as a co-host so that you can share your screens.
Yeah, I think let me do that because I think it will be a welcome change also. Audience has been hearing mostly talk since the morning, so give me a second. Or are you opening up my presentation or are you just making me co-host? Whichever is fine.
We made you a co-host.
Sure.
You can share it from your system also.
I think I can share it now.
Yeah.
I hope you can see my screen now.
Yes, we can.
Great. First of all, thank you very much. I was attending the session since the morning, so many thanks for the organization committee as well as the dignitaries. It's great to see San Nayak on the dais. We have talked a couple of times earlier as well, so good to see some known faces. So let me kind of rush through the presentation. I know that I have just 10 minutes, so I'll cover the points. So I might skip a few of these, but let me get to the chase. For most of you, a very short introduction about ourselves. We are basically a green hydrogen consultancy company focusing on different aspects of, let's say, the low carbon hydrogen landscape across policy, strategy, technology design, as well as technology development. So we advise both the government, PSUs, public and private sector in building the green hydrogen ecosystem. So that's basically what we do across helping, let's say, the industry develop the hydrogen ecosystem from scratch. That's where we are, right? So a couple of things have been mentioned. This is a slide which I like a lot. I talk about, I mean, more than 70-75% of our solar system is made of hydrogen. I mean, it's just an important, it's like a figure which you can remember. Sun is 74%, Jupiter is 70%. Of course, a lot of it is metallic hydrogen, which we will never talk about on the Earth because we don't have the conditions for like metallic hydrogen at millions of bars of pressure. But still, similar in Saturn, there's more than 75% of hydrogen, and like from a universe perspective as well, like 70-75% of the universe is made up of hydrogen. So that's just giving you a bit of a let's say a really high level picture. I mean, a top down perspective as you might learn in management, but it's really high level picture that also, let's say, the solar energy we get from the sun is a result of the fusion reactions of hydrogen molecules, hydrogen isotopes. So that's also, let's say, the core source is hydrogen, but that's something which I like to mention. The history was talked about by one of the speakers, so I'll skip that. This is important. A few numbers to remember. Let's say the current demand of hydrogen in India is about 7 million tons per annum, right? This was as per 2021, pretty recent. 7 million tons, out of which 45% comes from refining and 55% comes from ammonia. There are a few other minor uses, but primarily refining and ammonia being the two main. right? And globally, we are talking about close to 85 to 90 million tons. So India is about 8% of the global demand. Again, at a global level as well, the ratio is 40 to 60% split between refining and ammonia. These are the two main sources where hydrogen is used globally right now. Uh, why is hydrogen so important? Let's say to look at is, in this graph I highlight that one of the major inputs of uses of hydrogen is ammonia, right? And then India has one of the highest import dependencies of ammonia. Close to $1.4 billion of ammonia was imported last year, and close to $7 billion of natural gas was imported last year. And then hydrogen, which is made in India, is predominantly made from natural gas, right? So that's why I show this. I mean, not all the $7.3 billion gets used into hydrogen, but a good portion of that does. So there is a very high import dependency, and India is like kind of subject to, let's say, what happens in the global realm. And you see that some of these countries are also not, let's say, the most. I mean, again, I'm not giving a political stand here, but then they're not the most stable of them with respect to the energy dependency, right? Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Ukraine, Russia, Nigeria, UAE. So quite a bit of a dependency on these countries. A very quick rundown on how hydrogen is used in the refineries. Around 80% is used for, let's say, use in hydrocrackers. So that's to produce more diesel. So 80% used to produce more diesel, and 20% used for desulfurization. So whatever we hear about BS6 based fuels, fuels which are low in diesel content, hydrogen is used in that in the refineries. So if you want to remember, how is hydrogen used in the refineries? Making more diesel, making more middle distillates, and making, let's say, desulfurizing the diesel so that it's road standards, right? The other use where 50% of where hydrogen is used is in ammonia production, and ammonia is used mainly in production of different fertilizers, out of which urea being the main, right? Urea is mainly like 60 to 70% of the fertilizers, and the rest are some other fertilizers, ammonia derived fertilizers, and some chemicals, right? So ammonia, hydrogen made with nitrogen, together with nitrogen, you make ammonia, and ammonia used for fertilizer production. The second part, which I want to cover quickly, is the green hydrogen landscape. Some of the statistics were already mentioned, and it might have also been covered in the report which was generated by your team, by the students recently. The 7 million tons per annum is expected. 7 million tons per annum is expected to go to close to 25 million tons per annum by 2050. So that's like close to a 3.5 to 4x jump, and out of which a lot of new sectors. So the gray sectors, what you see, are the refinery and the ammonia sectors, but then a lot of new sectors around power, transportation, and other industries will also pop up when it comes to ammonia, say green hydrogen usage in the future, right? So 400% growth in 30 years is like quite significant. Within India, a lot of work has been started, right? I mean, I've listed here some of the major announcements which are being taken place. I divide this into 2 or 3 parts. One is, the Reliance and the Adanis. Together, they are talking about close to $100 billion plus of investment across green hydrogen ecosystem, let it be manufacturing of electrolyzers, fuel cells, power electronics, or even hydrogen production, green hydrogen production. Then there are a number of these public sector units, which are mandate driven. They are talking about tenders for pilot projects. These are NTPCs, GAILs, and Indian Oil, where in the future we might expect some, let's say, mandates. And then finally, there are a number of these private sector companies like Greenko, Jackson, Acme. They have announced really large scale, right? Literally 10,000s of crores of investments for green hydrogen plants across in Rajasthan and Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. All early stage, but a lot is happening in the sector. You can see from this, if you add up all these, you're talking about, let's say, 200, 300 billion dollars worth of projects alone. Say in terms of green hydrogen policy, so most of these projects are still waiting for the policy from the Indian government and the state governments to really push it through, right? I mean, there have been some announcements in the policy which was announced on the 17th of February 2022 around banking of renewable energy, which will be permitted for 30 days, as well as connectivity, but not a lot has been proposed. We are expecting a second version with a far more elaborate, say, mandate around stage mandates for refineries and fertilizers, some PLI schemes for manufacturing of electrolyzers and fuel cells, as well as some hydrogen hubs, which might come up every month people talk about next month. We don't know when it will come up, but this is going to be, these blue boxes are going to be key for any of the projects to get started with, because without these policies or without these mandates, we do not expect, to be very honest, a lot of projects getting kickstarted or implemented in India. Why is hydrogen a key to decarbonization? I think this is something which all of you are wondering, and some of the questions would be around this as well. So this is a study by Bloomberg. What you see here is hydrogen usage in different industries, depending upon if it's a weak policy or a strong policy. Again, around from the 80 million tons, we are going to increase to say 700 million tons on a strong policy measure and 200 million tons per annum on a weak policy measure, with a lot of new sectors, just like transport. Heavy transport is definitely going to come in, industry, cement, steel. So all the heavy industries where natural gas is currently being used as a feedstock are expected to move towards green hydrogen. And then some part of application in the power sector as well, especially for long duration seasonal energy storage. Here I make a summary of all the industries, right? Refinery, ammonia and methanol, we already talked about. Replacement of natural gas in a number of use cases, steel, cement, glass. Synthetic fuels production, going to be very important. Long duration, long-term energy storage, as well as hydrogen for different transportation, primarily for heavy transportation like marine applications, trucks, and aviation applications as intermediate fuels. It's the same slide, we'll not cover that. So if you look at the number of projects which have been announced, right, through 2030, there have been more than 250 to 300 billion dollars worth of projects which are announced globally, right? And then with respect to the electrolyzer industry, you're talking about almost 63% CAGR, close to 8,000% growth through 2031. So quite a bit of push and excitement in the sector as such. I'm just finishing up. I can see your mic up.
Yes.
So give me a say in this slide, what you see on the colors very simply is the places where the levelized cost of hydrogen will be the lowest. And this is because 70% of the cost of hydrogen is directly proportional to the cost of electricity. So where there's low cost of electricity, you have low cost of hydrogen. So there's a good chance that all these red regions, North of Africa, Middle East, Chile, also India to some extent, could become export hubs of hydrogen to other countries. I mean, of course, and Australia as well. Finally, I mean, I think that's with that, I'm just wrapping up. So happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Santosh. We do have some questions which are posted by our students. The first question has come from Ms. Manika Singh, who is our MBA student. She asked, is India's developing green hydrogen ecosystem capable of helping global decarbonization? What are your views on this?
So see, I think there are, I would say, two or three ways to answer that question. I mean, one of them is, let's say, India is a very big import hub of fossil fuels. Let it be crude oil, let it be natural gas, let it be ammonia. And all these fuels, in order to produce them and eventually use them, you require a lot of fossil fuels. So if India reduces its dependency on these fuels or import dependency by making green hydrogen and then derive these fuels out of green hydrogen or reduce natural gas dependency, then indirectly or directly, I would say India would contribute to the global goals. That's one. Second being, in the future, India is expected to become a global hub in manufacturing, right? Post-COVID, a lot of countries are moving away from China and setting up secondary hubs in places like India. India needs to have, in order to reduce the scope 3 emissions, India needs to have a lot of these sectors running on at least the industrial heat part and power being generated through green hydrogen if possible. And then that will also have, say, reduction in the scope 3. And I think the third one, which is, I would say, the most talked about right now, is the production of green ammonia in India and exporting it to Europe, for example, or East of Asia. Again, depends on the policy mandates and economics. It might also help in the longer run. So these would be the three main pillars from a decarbonization perspective.
Thank you. The next question has come from Malvika Das. It is related to existing and potential challenges. There is how green hydrogen, it emits no carbon, but uses of other resources might hinder in its full acceptance. How would industry tackle to this problem?
Yeah, so I mean, uses of other resources, if you look at it, there are, let's say, again, three main parts. I mean, one is the equipments which go into it. The equipment which go into it, that is then the electrolyzers or the different, let's say, industrial equipment we need to make green hydrogen, right? So that is something which will be important, that with time we start to indigenize those things, because currently, if you look at electrolyzers, if you want to go and buy electrolyzers, you have a 24-month, 30-month lead time, because there aren't many, especially for PEM electrolyzers, there is a demand for certain materials which are scarce and only available in certain regions. So that will hamper for sure. So we will have to look at technologies which can have less scarce materials being used, right? So that's one thing. The second thing, which will continue to be a very important source, will be the availability of green electricity at bulk, and that too at a very high capacity factors, right? I mean, we cannot have solar and wind, even if running 100%, 300%, we cannot have them running 24/7, right? I mean, the maximum capacity factors will get it only 55 to 60% for solar and wind. So that is going to be another hampering factor on how green is the green hydrogen, how exactly can we call it green hydrogen, right? So I think that will be the second. The third will obviously be water. When we will have to kind of set up these facilities close to areas where there is abundant availability of water, next to ports, next to lakes, next to rivers, rather than in the middle of nowhere, right? So there will be these challenges, but I think they would be some of them more critical than the others, but has to be addressed.
One more question is posted by Mr. Anish Pani on how carbon capturing along with manufacturing of green hydrogen can be instrumental in achieving net zero outcome from the Indian context.
Right. So how I see carbon capture is more from a value addition perspective. So there are a lot of these products, let it be methanol, let it be urea, let it be, let's say, synthetic fuels. I mean, all of these require carbon dioxide as a fuel, right, as a feedstock. Now, in the conventional method of production of these components, we always go with, let's say, natural gas or coal, where carbon dioxide is already produced, which you capture and then use it. Whereas in the new scenario, you do not have that natural gas. So you will have to kind of find CO2 sources from somewhere. So carbon capture will be instrumental in unlocking these secondary industries, especially when it comes to sustainable aviation fuel, which is, say, synthetic kerosene production. You will need CO2, right? And then the second thing which we're talking about is also e-methane. So a number of these synthetic fuels, carbon capture will help, CO2 will help. The second part is, I mean, in India, let's say the potential to sequester or store carbon in geological reserves is limited compared to what it is in, say, Western Europe, or even in, let's say, the Gulf Coast of America, in the US, right? So India will have to look at, rather than sequestering it, directly utilizing it in these forms. So I think it will go hand in hand, and people should look at it. So, and unfortunately, right now people are not talking about it a lot because the carbon prices are like close to nothing. I mean, $1 per ton, $2 per ton. But then if they look at it from a long-term value chain addition perspective, then it starts to become very interesting. So I think that will be the key unlock.
Thank you. Thank you, Santosh. So, Santosh started his presentation with giving us an insight on Imagine, which is a green hydrogen consulting company that deals with policies, technology design, and various other aspects. He also interestingly gave us some facts about hydrogen, wherein almost we came to know that 74% of the hydrogen, entire universe is made up of 74% of hydrogen. Further went on giving us an insights on what are the current demands of hydrogen from Indian perspective. India needs almost 7 million tons, that is the annual requirement of hydrogen, of which 45% would be used in refining process. He also gave us some interesting facts about the economics of India, how much the amount of money India spends on exporting the ammonia as well as not exporting, importing ammonia as well as the natural gas. And the interesting thing that struck me was when I came to know 80% of the hydrogen is used in production of diesel. It is such an irony. We are here today talking about use of hydrogen as a green fuel, and this green fuel is used for manufacturing of carbon intensive fuel. And we have been doing this since so many years, right? We had the solution with us since the beginning, but somehow we could not tap into that opportunity. But better now than never, we are in a right position. He further went on and gave us insight on uses of hydrogen in ammonia manufacturing, as well as its further uses in manufacturing of fertilizers, and then gave us an insights on how now Indian businesses are moving and taking interest into the manufacturing of low carbon hydrogen. He also eventually through a map also showed us a very interesting thematic map which showed which are the areas where there is a potential to generate low cost hydrogen. And the interesting correlation was the countries or the areas where manufacturing of electricity is cheaper. These are the places where hydrogen manufacturing could be cheaper. So with all these insights, I would again really would like to thank Santosh for your time, and we request you to be with us, because as I said, there are certain questions which are common to all the panels, which I would be asking at the end of the session. Right? Now,
sure, my pleasure.
Now we move on to our third speaker. Our third speaker is Dr. Kalpana Revatkar Yevle. Dr. Yevle is currently working as a senior research scientist in Getstone India Private Limited. She has completed both her BTech and MTech in chemical engineering from Lakshminarayan Institute of Technology and PhD from Visvesvaraya National Institute of Technology. She has also been associated with IIT Bombay, and for past 4 years she has been associated with Getstone India Private Limited. We welcome you, Dr. Kalpana, and we would like to hear insights on green hydrogen from you as well. Would you like to share the screen?
Yes.
Okay, then I'll request Kashish to please be your co-host. Yeah, you're now co-host. You can share the screen.
Okay. I cannot see myself. Can you hear me?
See the screen.
Yeah, you can see the screen, right? And you can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon, all. as I've been introduced. Thank you for the introduction. And I feel privileged and honored to give talk or presentation in this seminar. So thank you once again. I am, as introduced, associated with the JESCON. Recently, for 1 month, on 15th August, I have been deputed to Indonesia as an expert for our projects, international projects, 4 projects for ADNOC. So, yeah. And from this Monday, for 1 week, I will be giving lectures at IIT Delhi as Center of Excellence for the FLEX course. Previously also, I have given 6 months training for UPL in 2020. So yeah, so this is about me. So I will be talking about this. So let me move to the next slide. How can I move this slide? Sorry. Yeah. So this is about JESCON. So we are, I have put a single slide for, we also does study on hydrogen, but basically we JESCON are into safety studies, in accident investigations, and of course codes and standards, and Center of Excellence activities also responsible for. So we have branches over 11 countries all over the world. Our main JESCON is based in Norway. Yeah. So just jump into the hydrogen. So hydrogen at a glance, you all know this is a very first element in the periodic table and a very small molecule. So it can leak very easily from the pipelines or from the material. So that choice of material is also a challenging perspective due to its small molecule size. It is extremely buoyant, exactly 14 times lighter than air, and it's 6 times faster than natural gas with this laminar burning velocity. So if I speak that it's lighter than air, then it's a good thing for us. Yeah. If any accident happens or something, and its diffusivity is very high. So if we if anything happens, so due to its buoyant nature, it will go up due to high momentum, right? And and it will be easier. But for in the confinement, if something happens, like if in confined room or building, then it will deposit in the ceiling side, right? That we have to take into account and will cause accident. So it has a high laminar burning velocity of the meter per second, which is 6 times faster than the hydrocarbon gases. Yeah, that is you students may not be aware of the deflagration and detonation terminology. So if detonation happens, then there is there are no need of obstructions. The explosion happens with a very, very high explosion loads. Yeah. So that is some points we have to consider for the green hydrogen to make it more safe. So it has a low ignition energy, 0.02 million millijoules. Again, very less amount of energy is needed to get it burned. It is odorless and non-toxic, also colorless. So to make it color, so we cannot mix other gases in it due to its very small molecule, and it will not match with other molecule structure to be mixed to make it color or to make order sense. That is some challenges. Wide flammability range is again one of the challenges. It is having LFL, UFL range in between 4 to 75%. Again, negative Joule therm effect. It will lead to the auto ignition. Yeah, Can I ask, are these science students, please?
Some of them are science students. We have MBA sustainability management students, which is mix of engineers, science-based students, and as well as from we have BSc, EVS, and SC students as well.
Wow, wow, nice audience, nice audience. So, so there are some terminologies I will be using. If you are not come to interest, or you are interested in that, then please let me know. I will explain you later, right? So hydrogen application, all are aware of the wide use of hydrogen as a fuel for the transportation, for the power, as an electricity, for in industries, in the fertilizer industry, for the plastic. We can see it for the, in the foreign, we use it in the heating purpose also, at the residential, the commercial areas. And also it is used in the steel industry, paper industry, cement, aluminum industry, right? So there are various applications of hydrogen. So yeah, moving to the next slide. So there are, depending upon the method of productions, the hydrogen has been given colors. That doesn't mean it is colorful. It has given the name on the basis of its production. Like if the hydrogen is being produced by coal with the gasification, so it will called as a black hydrogen, because it is producing a lot more carbon dioxide along with hydrogen. Yeah, if, the same hydrocarbon is when steam methane reforming, when it is produced with this process, then also it is produced less carbon dioxide as compared to the coal. But again, this is, then it is made a gray. Now the gray hydrogen could be make blue hydrogen when the carbon dioxide produced in the SMR, that is steam methane reforming process, is, you know, captured. In that time, we can make, that way we can make gray hydrogen to blue hydrogen. Now, why do we need to capture this carbon dioxide? Yeah, to make to make our environment clean, to reduce the, you know, climate change, green gas house effect, right? So again, this blue can be make turquoise. So what turquoise means? The same process, but with the pyrolysis production method. So what it will do, instead of producing carbon dioxide, it will produce solid carbon, which can be stored easily. That is turquoise hydrogen. But there is something yellow, which is produced with the nuclear power, with some sulfur iodine cycle. Some people called it as a, with producing of the solar energy also, some terminologies. But there is a pink hydrogen coming up. That is the, when the electrolysis process is being used by a nuclear power, then the hydrogen production is known as pink hydrogen. Green hydrogen, which today's topic is. So how do we jump into the green hydrogen? When the electrolysis process, which is used to produce the hydrogen, is using the renewable energy as a fuel, not the coal or other, right? So in that case, the hydrogen produced is the green hydrogen. Why? Because here the byproduct will be water vapor only. So there is no harm to the atmosphere. So next, moving to this green hydrogen production. So there are various ways we can use the renewable energy as a solar, from the sun, from the wind, from the water, hydro, from the ocean, from the geothermal energy. Then we put it into the electrolyzers, yeah. And then there is an electrolysis process where hydrogen is separated and oxygen is separated. And the hydrogen obtained, then we put this hydrogen into the fuel cell, which this fuel cell use this hydrogen and use the oxygen from the atmosphere. The reaction takes place. Then there is the electron, means there is a exchange of reaction, I mean, electron transfer and the proton, yeah. So there will be electricity generated and water will come out as a byproduct, water vapor. And this energy, which is electricity, which is produced due to this hydrogen, is being utilized can be utilized in the trucks, in the buses, in the industry, for whatever use you want to. Yeah. So in summary, yeah, but while we are driving, if we are driving, we are using electrical vehicles. In that case, we may come across accidents. So we have to be aware of safety. Being Dexcon person, I'm more concerned, we are more concerned about the safety aspects of the hydrogen, especially the green hydrogen, right? So the accidents can happen due to loss of containment. What is containment? Means is something, if there is a container, if it leaks happen, then there is a loss of chemical, hazardous chemical, there is loss of containment. What will happen? The hydrogen vapor will come, there is a flammable mixture, yeah, in the flammable range. When it comes with contact with the oxidant, like like oxygen, and this is the fuel is the hydrogen, then in presence of source of ignition, then the fire will happen. But if there is a confined and there is a sufficient cloud is formed, so this will happen explosion, right? So there are some terminology, it could be avoided with no ignition, with immediate ignition. If hydrogen leak happens and immediately finds the source of ignition, then it will give a jet fire. If it finds source of ignition late, then it may form a large cloud, and in presence of confinement or congestion means lot of structure of pipes and buildings and something like that, can cause gas explosion, right? There are a lot of theory behind this. I will skip, of course. Moving to the next. Yeah, just want to show one of the things. What is jet fire means if there is a pressurized release happens, because hydrogen is a very light, so if you store it, you will need large container. To make it small, you have to make it compressed, right? So in buses or for the trucks which we are proposing the green hydrogen, what is that means? We have to make it compressed at a pressure of 300 bar or 700 bar, right? So for at this much pressurized, if this much pressurized release happens, and then if there is a source of ignition, then it can self-ignite, right, with the help of friction or the static. Why? Because it has a very less ignition energy. We have seen earlier 0.02 millijoules, right? So yeah, just let me show this video. It's a small, this is a gas. So this is the actual experimentations that Dexcon has carried out. We have our, at Norway, we have a dedicated island for this to carry out the explosion and the fire scenario experimentations. Yeah, I won't go in detail again. So that just to give you idea what does that mean. Yeah, okay, what I have. So next, just want to give the flavor of if a small percentage, 15% hydrogen, 12% hydrogen, instead of 12%, we are increasing 15% hydrogen. So this experiment is also being conducted. So this is the experimentation which we have conducted, and the slow with a slow motion camera, it has been captured. Now you can see the same thing. There is inside this hydrogen with 15% concentration. Now these are the panels, pressure venting panels we say, which will open up with that pressure. So you can see the flame here and see the speed of the flame. So these are the actual. So we can see the rise in the pressure is almost 18 times. Why? Just from 12% to 15 volume percent, we have increased. You can see the pressure in the range of 0.5, in the range of 0.1. So there is a huge rise in pressure. Yeah. So we generally in flags do.
We are falling short of time. May I request you?
Okay. Just how many time do I have now? 3 minutes?
You can take 2 more minutes.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much for informing me. I will wrap up it in 2 minutes. So there are various means of transport also. Pipeline, hydrogen can be transported by compressing or so just give me. So we have to go to move ahead. We need have more hydrogen users to simulate the market, because if the demand will create a more hydrogen production, right? So there is only the fuel cell, right? I have shown you earlier where hydrogen and oxygen is mixing and giving the electricity, right? And the transient bus should be given, the market value. More industry involvement in the demos and R&D studies should be there. Some policies and incentives from the government should be given to the industries which are using the green hydrogen. Yeah, universal sets of codes and standards which we are lacking for the green hydrogen. Yeah, so good design practice should be there. You can have well ventilation, congestion, limit congestion, leakage sources, avoid ignition sources. Yeah, there is safety design aspects also, and limiting leakage, likelihood of ignition. We can have design to withstand the residual accidental risk and could have safer green hydrogen and could be useful. So generally we have the study of HAZOP, and then we do the ventilation and the dispersion scenarios with the flag software, and we analyze the fire and explosion modeling to verify the events, and we suggest the best structure, or either we to move the shift the plant or the utility, right? So we can use it, or we can see the buses or trucks, if they are safe. Green hydrogen, we have several applications, and we have negative effect on the social license. I have seen you some challenges. So there should be the company should take proper action for training, for learning, for improvement on the standards, regulations, safety objectives. Some of the tools we should use, and these are the standards and regulations that is compulsory for the management of this green hydrogen, to take it further. There are a lot more to say, but because of time limit, I would stop here, and thank you very much for listening me here and giving me chance to put my views and perspectives on this.
Thank you. We have our first question from Mr. Pritish Das, who is a student of MBA Sustainability Management. His question is, how do you think green hydrogen is going to affect the people when transition is focused mainly on electric vehicles?
Mainly on?
Electric vehicles.
How the?
I'll repeat the question. The question is, how do you think green hydrogen is going to affect the people when transition is focused mainly on electric vehicle?
So, because vehicles, I guess, are causing most of the environmental issues, right? The climate change, they are the main thing. So we have we have several sectors. We have seen lot of applications, but we have to start somewhere, right? So if we start with electrical vehicles, so it would help to generate, I mean, like low carbon emission due to vehicles. So we can use the fuel cell and we can store the hydrogen, and we can use fuel cell on the buses or the vehicles and to generate the electricity, and the water vapor will come out as a secondary, I mean, like as a byproduct.
The next question is asked by.
Did I answer the question? Or should I elaborate more? I mean, like.
Yeah, I guess Pritesh is okay with the answer. Yes, you have answered the question. Now the next question here is posed by George. He's also an MBSM student. He's asking how to solve the issue of high energy requirements for compressed hydrogen storage.
Yeah, how to
solve the issue of high energy requirements for compressed hydrogen storage.
For the compressed hydrogen storage, how to solve the issue? Yeah, because hydrogen is very light, so we have to store it. Compressed. That is the easier method we have seen, but this is very expensive again, because it needs a lot of pressure to be stored, because it needs, I was talking about the transportation. It needs 300 bar or 700 bar pressures for the buses or the long route travels. So to solve the issue of high energy requirement, I would say that we should look into other alternatives of storage, or we should have more R&D and the research upon this, and we could definitely achieve this. Like we can store in the metal, we can absorb it in the metal, or some substances are there. We can combine it with methane, or we can combine it with the natural gas. I mean, like, and then we can on board we can produce it, right? So there are some methods instead of using the compressed hydrogen gas. So there are other alternatives also we should look into. There are some expensive one more. There is that you have to cool it very down towards the cryogenic temperature. So again, that is expensive, a little bit expensive. So there are some alternatives that you have to look into, I could say. And you, the young minds, can definitely generate that alternatives within a decade, definitely. I trust you guys. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. So, Dr. Kalpana Yevle, she started her talk with giving us insight on various hydrogen safety studies, where she spoke about choice of material for transportation of hydrogen is very important because of its chemical nature, which is very light, which is very small, and thus there are very high possibilities of leakages that can happen. She also gave us some insights on the chemistry of hydrogen and the applications of hydrogen as a beyond vehicular fuel. Further, she went on giving us the entire spectrum, the color spectrum of hydrogen from black to green, and made us realize that as and when we progress from black to gray to blue to turquoise, yellow, pink, and green, the carbon emissions in manufacturing of hydrogens get reduced, so that is a increasing ladder as far as reduction in carbon emission is concerned. And she further went on giving us an insight by showing a the green hydrogen manufacturing flowchart, and insights on accident causes. What are the major reasons? What are the major causes of accidents that can happen during the use or manufacturing of hydrogen? There is loss of containment, flammable reaction with the oxygen, and ignition as well. She further showed us the experiments that are carried at Gexcom Limited, wherein which involves or which showed us the seriousness in the safety measures that should be taken when we are dealing with hydrogen. Just by shift of 3%, just by increasing 3% of hydrogen, you can see when it was 12%, there was just release of hydrogen, and with just 15% increase, 3% increase, there was a flammable reaction. She also showed us way ahead, which highlighted the involvement of governments as well as businesses to invest into the R&D for hydrogen and policy incentives from the government perspective. And ended up with giving us an insights on good design practices from the safety aspects of hydrogen. We are really grateful to you, ma'am, for spending time with us, and we request you to stay with us. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. I will be there. Thank you very much.
Now we move on to our final speaker, Mr. San Naik, who has gracefully come to the campus, and he would be is the speaker who would be giving his offline session. Mr. Naik is currently the head of Green Hydrogen Department in Canyon Consultancy Private Limited. He's a chemical engineer who has done his business management from Harvard Business School and MBA from IIM Kolkata. Mr. Naik started his career as a chemical engineer in Mangalore Refinery and Petrochemicals Limited, and has then worked in companies like Farabi Petrochemical Saudi Arabia, All About Labs India. In his 17 years of careers, he has also worked as a business strategy specialist in Royal Commission for Jubail and Yanbu, Dubai. Mr. Naik is also founder of TechBox, which is a technology solution company for developing green hydrogen ecosystem. His forte lies in green hydrogen economics and investment modeling, hydrogen production technology, electrochemical electrolysis and photosynthetic pathways for manufacturing of hydrogen, hydrogen storage and distribution. So we are very grateful to you, sir, and we look forward to listening from you.
Good morning, everyone.
Sir, audible?
Good morning, everyone. It's a great pleasure coming here, and it's a fantastic memory. I'm really thanks to XIM University for inviting us and talking something about the green hydrogen, which is an evolving energy sector, I can say right now. And basically, I really thank you, my co-panelist, who has been already covered most of the area and given a lot of highlights about green hydrogen, their technology side, its economy side. I would like to focus, I have few slides which I'm going to scroll through that, but basically understanding a school's perspective, I would like to highlight more on like what is the job opportunity, how the career is going to come, the next future jobs. And if you're interested on some of the business aspect, like to start any startup company or going to a different domain, how you can do that. I would like to talk a little more about that. So I request, just please go ahead. The first thing is that what is net zero? Right now, all over the world, people are talking about the net zero. We need to understand why this concept has been come. It is not come right now. It came since many years. When there is a carbon dioxide emission or carbon monoxide emission, it is causing the greenhouse effect. Like it is increasing the temperature, increasing the whole ambience, and a lot of climate change related problem is happening because of that. So how to reduce that emission? That is the criteria. So there are various methods we can resolve by CCS, using the green hydrogen, using different renewable energy, and we can reduce the greenhouse effect. So understanding the current situation, this industry is going to be a big industry in the next 20 to 30 years, which is going to cater all over the world. And green hydrogen is one of the parts which can help to achieve the net zero pathway. Yeah. Next. So what is green hydrogen? Really, it's a very simple concept. Whenever we went to the school, you may remember, like in the science exhibition, we must have seen the voltmeter, like putting some battery and generating the electricity, and the hydrogen is popping up from that water. It is just simple like that. Other side, I'm also coming. Why it is not simple? That whatever we are thinking and doing in the school days. The initial part of this feedstock is the electricity and the water, which we are going to get it from the renewable source. Like we can use the solar energy, we can use the geothermal, we can use the wind energy. And the reason that why you are using, because there is no carbon footprint. Okay. Then second thing, the water. The water is coming from different sources. Like you can get it from desalination method. We can use the normal water. Do some of the spec related things which we can use on the electrolyzer. So electrolyzer is such a major component. This is actually the heart of the whole green hydrogen system. It is running through a electrochemical technology or electrochemical processes. So in that, there is a process like there is an anode, there is a cathode, where the hydrogen and oxygen is going to evolve from that electrochemical process. Then after when we get the hydrogen, it is going to store, it is going to compress, and in the next value chain, it is going to be used in for different purposes. Like we can use in the refinery, as Santosh said that a lot of hydrogen is getting used in our hydrocracking and the hydrotreating process. We can use this and we can get it from a green hydrogen source. It is a possibility. Possibility means recently the ministry also made some amendment that slowly we need to increase the hydrogen from a green source and maybe like 5% to 10%, gradually we can ramp up like that. It can be used in ammonia production, it can be used in different chemical manufacturing. The automobile sector is a very big sector. It contains like the road transportation, it is the rail transportation, the shipping, even the air services also could be catered through this green hydrogen. So this is overall value chain where we can have an understanding and which is going to have a flavor. Like if you are particularly interested in a renewable technology, you can consider this part. If you are really interested having some chemical or electrical or mechanical background, you need to focus the electrolyzer and that component. And if you are really good in designing the compressor or some of the sensors, then you can come to the storage and the next value chain. Yeah. So basically, whenever we are splitting the water, if we are breaking the water, what is the like H2O? It contains two atom of hydrogen and one atom of oxygen, and combine together and make a one molecule of hydrogen water. So how we can break that? There are different methods like electrolysis, there is thermolysis, there is photolysis also. So in the green hydrogen, right now, the electrolysis is much more prevalent, which has, there are different kind of electrolyzer you can use. Broadly, we have segmented into like alkaline electrolyzer, EM electrolyzer, like proton exchange membrane. There is also solid oxide electrolyzer also there. There is AEM also there. And some of the co-electrolyzer could be used to produce the hydrogen more efficiently. And one more interesting thing, please go to the previous slide. Like whenever we are making, breaking one molecule of hydrogen, we need electricity. But in the other hand, we produce some of the heat also. So using that heat, we can make more efficient green hydrogen system. See, this color is a thing right now all over the world. People are talking like green, blue, pink. There are many things. But broadly, if you think like this is broadly divided into two parts, like which source is emitting the greenhouse gases and which source is not emitting the greenhouse gases. Like take an example, the green energy like renewable sources from solar or geothermal wind is not emitting any carbon related emission. But fossil fuel like coal burning, it can. So based on that, it has segregated the color. It has different efficiency, it has different emission level, and how the emission level could be controlled. This is the technologically advancing component, which gradually is evolving, and people are working in this part. Today morning, Guptaji was also talking about the electrolyzer involvement, how it has happened. Historically, electrolyzer is not new. Long time back, it has started in around 1800 years, like 1800. And the real challenge, whenever the electrolyzer came, it was used for industrial purpose, and slowly, gradually, it developed. A lot of research has been carried out how to increase the power density, what is the major material you can use, which can make more efficient electrolysis process. And when we move forward, like after 1980 and 2000, most of the things has been concentrated on the cost component, how we can decrease the cost component and increase the efficiency. And gradually, right now there are multiple electrolyzer systems are there. You need to choose which is the right electrolyzer based on your feedstock and the efficiency. The purity also is one of the things which you need to consider when choosing the electrolyzer. This is a picture which is talking about what is the next 20 to 30 years of production is going to happen from different sources to make the green hydrogen. That will be dedicated to renewable electrolysis also going to happen. There is CCS process also is there, and the grid connected electrolysis also. But the most importantly, the renewable electrolysis is going to be much more prevalent in this production process. Demand is really immensely high. It has to be used in different segments, like it could be used in the process. Process means if you want to make any kind of product, like you can make ammonia, we can make multiple petrochemicals also. We can make different chemicals. And it is also could be used in the automobile sector. And we can use the natural gas and make the increase the calorific value to use in the natural gas system right now. Investment is going to be very high, and we are expecting it may reach more than 400 billion in the next 20 to 30 years. This is one of the primary area, like if you produce the hydrogen and how you are going to transport to the respective place. One kg of hydrogen on an average right now globally, it takes around $6 to $7 to generate the hydrogen. But whenever you are supplying the storing, then making it through different distribution channel, it add another $10 to $12. So altogether, the landed price of hydrogen is around over $50 right now. How we can reduce it? Using the existing system and making some kind of innovation or the technological advancement, and map the whole value chain in such a way that it could go much more integrated and the cost of the hydrogen can come down. The target is to achieve like around $3 to $4, and slowly we want to come down to $1 to $2. That is the target. Everyone is taking care of that. LCOH is known as the levelized cost of hydrogen. How you can map the final price of hydrogen. Like we can make hydrogen from different sources. That is evident. Right now, around 70 to 80% of hydrogen is getting produced from the fossil fuel sources. Coming from refinery, it coming from the natural gas reforming, it is also from the coal gasification process. And slowly the hydrogen which is going to produce in the next future has to come from the green energy sources. So whenever we are mapping the final price of hydrogen, we just tweak everything, just make a weighted average of everything, and there is a certain model which actually decides the LCOH. You can go to internet and look for this. This is very important. You need to understand from a perspective whenever you are doing any kind of modeling, financial modeling or any kind of business modeling. So it can be very helpful. Well, the transportation, ammonia also going to be very helpful because there is an existing system of ammonia. There is a storage system, and we need to make hydrogen to convert it to ammonia and use the existing system, and we can reduce the cost. So that is the thing most of the people are talking about, the green ammonia right now. Well, the policy which I try to focus here to understand a little about the international policy and something which little influence and try to capture from a domestic perspective, like how the India is going to move. India is moving really fantastic way, and a lot of amendment is happening from a renewable energy perspective, and how they can include hydrogen, also green hydrogen. There is a lot of things is happening from the Ministry of Industry and Ministry of Renewable Energy, and everyone is cooperating. And that is also decided that there will be certain green hydrogen corridor, which is going to give a lot of value and integrate with the industry. So that is the work is going to design the policies, which will be helpful for the industry, which will be helpful for the electricity power generator companies, even the distribution. There would be also some of the standardized process has to be there. That is the regulatory norm, how we can use hydrogen more efficiently, and how to manage the safety management. It's very important. People are very apprehensive about hydrogen. I was recently talking with one of my aerospace, top aerospace engineer, how you can use going to hydrogen. You are doing a lot of design in aircraft, you are doing ATF and stuff like that. To design that system, so that has to be protected. You can see the technical parameters. Hydrogen has a lot of leverage over the other inflammable gases, and gasoline itself and the diesel over that. So we can design the very efficient system and play it and make a very strong setting procedure. Well, as I said, there will going to have a lot of electrolyzer. Is a little more technical. I'm not going much detail into that, but broadly I can say it contains different kind of components which can importantly decide what is the purity of hydrogen, the yield pattern of the hydrogen, where you can make more efficient, like alkaline electrolyzer is very much well market developed. If you are choosing this, you can have a good, no need to invest much more. At a low cost, you can put this electrolyzer. Then after you can choose what's the purity level. PM is a really developed, market developed product. A lot of research is happening how the membrane has to be improved, how the electrolysis process has to be improved, and more cost effective. That a lot of work is going on. Solid oxide is a little costly. It mostly used in industrial scale, and there is a high temperature has to be there, which operate to in this electrolyzer process. It becomes suggestive to use in a very small scale. There would be large scale project that they could use the solid oxide electrolyzer. And if there is a strong integration with other industries like this and other fertilizer, this is a very beneficial project. Anion exchange also, this is one of the very new technologies people are working on. There is a lot of work is going how to increase the catalyst membrane, how you can increase the efficiency. A lot of chemical engineering stuff is there. And being in the business side, you can manage the whole technology. You can manage the technology management, how you can leverage the cost, reduce the overall project cost, and at a low capex, how you can make more efficient this kind of electrolyzer. That is a real work which you find very interesting. Well, broadly, the design happens in different scales. These are the cell level design where we need a lot of R&D. We need to do the nano level design, how this is moving at a nano scale, like the catalyst efficiency and how the mass transfer is happening at that level, those kind of stuff will be there. Those are very interesting for R&D and R&D management, very suitable for this kind of area. Stack level means whenever we're designing and we come and frozen the cellular design, we can make little visible form. So this is known as the stack level, and we need to join all the stack to have a the scale of the whole process. Productivity. System level means you need to design all the components of green hydrogen system, starting from renewable energy sources to till the end, how it is going to be stored and distributed. The whole system. Well, this is a broad overview of how the cost is broken down. The system cost right now, the stack is one of the major costs, which more than 50%. Other cost would be the balance of plant, which carry around 50%. The rest is the power supply. This is a broad detail about different electrolyzer components and system design. I request to go to the next 2-3 slides. Those are more interested about the technology and how it has to be carried out at a very ground level. They can communicate with we have a team which can support based on the requirement. The storage is, as I said, it carries a major part of the cost. How we can reduce the storage cost, that is a primary area people are working right now. There are multiple methods you can store. You can make some kind of semi-solid hydrogen, like which is known as liquid hydrocarbon. We can make organic emulsion kind of stuff, and we can store. You can transport easily. Even it could be stored in the ammonia tanks, and the normal pipeline transport would be there. But the pipeline has to be designed little efficiently, and the storage has to be designed more efficiently. The reason is that because the hydrogen atom is so small, like it can penetrate very easily the heavy, like the metal surface. So we need to have multiple coatings, or we need to give different layers to protect that, and we need to store that. That is the reason the storage system is little costly right now. Maybe in future, whenever it is going to scale up, the price has to come down and we will get a very equilibrium price. Right now, in Indian context, most of the things are working to design the policy, how the green hydrogen system has to be integrated with the renewable sources and in the value chain, like how it could be industrialized more and integrate with the industry. Those wants to do a decarbonization strategy, like the power plants and oil and gas refineries, fertilizer companies. Even it could be used in the green steel, making the green steels. In the direct reduction of iron, a lot of hydrogen could be used, and it could be come from the green hydrogen, green energy sources. So a lot of work is going to design the policy, and in the Indian context, most of the things has to be evolved. That is like the efficient components of the electrolyzer. Right now, the R&D has to work on that. And if India has to be self-sustainable the next 4 to 5 years and make this kind of industry flourish, then they need to work on that. So that's my suggestion. How you can be part of this green hydrogen ecosystem? You can work on the electrolyzer. You need to understand the technicality of electrochemical process, as I said. Then you can design different kind of hydrogen system. There is also a chance of making the microgrid kind of hydrogen fuels. You can combine different kind of the rooftop solar and make a community and try to get some kind of hydrogen. Recently, I was going to. There is a company which has made in Malaysia to get into the agriculture. You can use the hydrogen. They're using the fuel cell, making electricity of that, and they might be using some industrial like agriculture products. And the major part is like automotive sector, as I said, but it will take time, maybe 4 to 5 years to come to that stage that we can scale up, and there will be a changeover from the traditional fuel. There will be a lot of retrofit is going to happen. EV has been already retrofitted right now, and when the production of hydrogen is going to come up, definitely it will settle down in this automotive sector. And as a startup, there will be a lot of opportunity to make a different kind of sensor. You can make different kind of analytic tools to support this industry. And yeah, there is fantastic opportunity. You can work on that, and it is going to give an immense potential for the next 20 to 30 years. And as I understand, the sustainability industry is going to come up in a very big scale in the next few years.
Okay, thank you very much. So I have some questions for you as well. This question is asked by a student, Anju, who's an MBASM student. Her question is, are there any chemical methods of dealing with large amounts of water vapor that would be released from fuel cells?
When you were talking about the large scale of water vapor is getting released, the water contains a lot of heat of enthalpy. So you can use in a CHP process. You can use the combine the heat and power and recover that heat energy, use in your roof system. But water has its own advantage and disadvantage also. Water can cause a lot of erosion in the pipe. If you want to protect from that, there are a lot of chemicals which can help to improve the heat transfer process. You can use some heat transfer fluid to increase the efficiency of the roof system. There are multiple heat transfer fluids that there are immersion fluid also there, like in the data center that could be used. Where the fuel cell also used, a lot of heat is getting generated.
Malvika Das asks next question. She's also an MBASM student. What are the various alternatives to overcome the uncertainty in the market demand for green hydrogen?
This is not an alternative product. Like we are approaching a target like we have to achieve the net zero in the next coming few years. This is one of the equipment which can help to achieve the net zero. And if you're talking about the alternative, we need to talk about what kind of market segment you are targeting. Basically, the industrial segment has its own potential and using the feedstock. Hydrogen being a energy carrier and the feedstock, it could be used in both energy segments as a fuel and as a feedstock also in the process. And if you're talking about the automotive sector, it could be used in the fuel cell and you can generate the electricity and run your cars. And if you're talking about comparing with any other sector like EV or anything, we are actually, it's an ecosystem which you are targeting to achieve the net zero. It's not like any alternative you are going to find with each other. It's a collaboration which has to go hand in hand and go together to achieve and make this world much more green. That is the major thing people are working right now.
The next question is asked by Gurbani. She's also an MBSM student. What can policymakers do to understand the potential value of hydrogen in their country? Hydrogen in their country. What can policymakers do? What can be their contributions?
Well, the policy making is a different context from whatever I normally focus. But broadly, I can say a few things has to be understood, like how the technology could be evolved, like more efficient electrolyzer technology. For that, you need a lot of mining. Like you need to mine different kind of catalyst, which can cater and use in this component of making the electrolyzer. So the policy has to going to drive how you can mine more efficiently, increase the productivity, include a lot of stakeholder, make the policy. And when there is a coming and talking about the trading, so the currency also is going to be very important. How you are trading in a common currency, or there would be some understanding between peer-to-peer or something like that. That also the policy body also has some impact in that. And obviously the production side also, how it's going to be market penetrated in different segments. So the policy has to be restructured even in a regulatory form and to increase the efficiency of the whole system. So policy is not more unidirectional of government or any policy maker. It has to be much more integrated and combined with all the challenging areas so that it can be efficient also.
Thank you. So, Mr. San Naik, he took us from the entire concept of green hydrogen, where he further elaborated and defined in detail the concept of green hydrogen and how this concept of net zero came into existence and how it can be achieved. He started his talk with that and further spoke about how manufacturing of green hydrogen can be easy when we look at it as a concept, but when it comes to reality, how it can be difficult and what are the risks involved in it. He also gave us an insights on various sectors and methods of hydrogen production. Usage of, the most interesting thing was how the heat which is generated in the chemical process of hydrogen, of generation of the hydrogen, how it can be reused in the manufacturing itself. Gave us also the insights when he was talking about the various color spectrum of green hydrogen. Also gave us details of direct and indirect greenhouse gas emissions in each and every color of each and every color of hydrogen. Eventually gave us further also gave us the history of electrolyzers and the details of various electrolyzers, the challenges that are involved in the efficiency, in the cost, and so on, and gave us various global perspectives on production, demand, and investments in green hydrogen. Further, he also spoke about how the costing of green hydrogen happens through the slide on levelized cost of green hydrogen. What struck me was 70 to 80% of green hydrogen 70 to 80% of hydrogen today is coming from fossil fuel itself, which clearly shows that there is a need for us. This is the right time for us to shift and think on these grounds. various barriers, he spoke about various barriers that are faced from hydrogen from the policies, and what are the various future perspectives available. He also gave us an insight on the second version of the policies that will be coming up, and highlighted on research on nanoscale at nano level for manufacturing of the stacks of the electrolyzers. So, and finally ended up with potential of hydrogen in manufacturing of green steel. Thank you very much for giving these insights to our students. I do have a couple of questions which are open to all the panelists in this question. The first question is asked by Mohammed Adil. This question is related to the challenges as far as the green hydrogen is concerned. What are the challenges of green hydrogen faced by the industry, and do you think that new technologies and proper infrastructure will actually help in reducing the price of green hydrogen? This is an open question to all the panelists.
Maybe I can take that question.
Yeah, thank you.
So the first part was the challenges with respect to green hydrogen for the industry adaptation, right?
Yeah.
So I think to answer that, maybe I'll be a bit blunt here. Most of the green hydrogen projects are not commercial right now. I mean, they're just not economical, unfortunately, unless at least in large scale projects. If you're looking at small scale projects, looking at alternatives to diesel generators, or alternatives to certain kind of fuels on a total cost of ownership basis, hydrogen might be economical. But then when you're talking about large scale projects for steel industry, for refineries, for ammonia, I mean, the business cases are very, very difficult. I mean, one, the business cases are very difficult as is. Second, they are how the long-term projection could be, right? Because if you would have read in sustainable energy, most of the projects have a 25-year kind of contracts called PPAs, power purchase agreements, right? So nobody in the industry is currently willing to sign a 25-year hydrogen purchase agreement contracts, mainly because we all know that the cost will go down, right? Nobody wants to take that risk. So from a commercial bankability perspective, unless and until there are very strong incentives or subsidies from governments, which is what you are seeing in Europe or US, for example, these projects are majorly uneconomical, unviable right now. So biggest challenge, incentives will have to come into play in the short term, right? In the longer term, the second part of the question was around the infrastructure. I would say rather than the infrastructure, it is more about decreasing cost of green electricity, right? So the more solar energy and more wind energy we install, the cost of that goes down, the lower levelized cost of electricity, one, in combination with some advances in technology so that the efficiency of the electrolyzers improve. Because the electrolyzer efficiency is generally right now 60-65% for the alkaline and the PEM electrolyzers, which are the more widely used ones. Solid oxide definitely is higher, but it's significantly, prohibitively expensive. So I think once these things happen, and also mass scale manufacturing, of course, that helps, but the efficiency is the key. So efficiency has to go up, solar and wind has to go up, levelized cost of electricity has to come down. At least in the short term, subsidies have to help. So all these put together, and then of course mandates have to come in. So all these put together will help the sector in moving forward in the next, say, 5, 10, 15 years.
The next question.
Excuse me. Hello. Yeah, I would like to add, if you permit.
Yes.
Santosh, yeah. Santosh has covered very well this question. Yeah, but I would like to add that storage is also a big challenge because of this very property of this hydrogen, light molecule, something. Yeah, storage material is a challenging, transportation is a challenging, design aspect is a challenging, some legal issues are challenging. Just wanted to add this. Otherwise, Santosh has covered all the points very well. Very well. That's all. Thank you.
Most of our panelists covered that. Yes. And that is absolutely right.
This question is, I guess, already answered by Sannak. The question was on how can we improve the efficiency of the electrolyzers, which I guess when you gave insights on different electrolyzers that are available in the market. Can you put some more light on how to improve the efficiency of the electrolyzers?
Well, as I said, broadly the design happens in three levels, like cellular level, stack level, and system level. So when we are going to design any kind of efficient electrolyzer, then we need to concentrate the overall, like how we can make a better cellular level by designing the better material which can increase the electrochemical ionic processes and what is the mass transfer is happening to make more and purified hydrogen that when we are doing a stack level, then the integration comes into the picture. That also we need to concentrate. Then the system level, there would be a lot of improvements used at system level. Not only the electrolyzer, other components. So a lot of process engineering stuff will be done. How we can improve the overall energy efficiency and the mass transfer and even the using more energy efficiency. That is broadly we can have to focus this area to increase the overall.
Thank you. So there, I actually have a big list of questions with me over here. However, the time is not permitting me to ask this question. But what I would request all the panelists is, we have already shared these questions to you. It would be great if you could share the answers of these questions over email, which can help us to also document it for further processes and share it with the students as well. And thus I come to my concluding remarks of this panel discussion. So I actually feel my thirst to understand the concept of green hydrogen is quenched because of the phenomenal insights that we have got from this panel discussion. And I'm pretty sure Professor Arup here would have already come up with a skeleton of second version of the report that we have released just today. I also further, this also gives us a great opportunity for School of Sustainability to collaborate with you all and start working towards the research that is related to green hydrogen. Because we do believe there should be a bridge between industry and academia when it comes to the research. We would be delighted to have your contributions in the second version of the report that we have published with us. Thank you all of you for your great insights, and we will now wrap up the panel discussion. Thank you very much.
This was a knowledge packed and a fun-filled session. Thank you all panelists for taking our time and enlightening our students on the theme of green hydrogen and energy transition. Thank you, Professor Dr. Vikrant, for beautifully moderating the panel discussion. As a token of gratitude and appreciation, School of Sustainability would like to felicitate the speakers of the day. For the same, I would like to invite Ms. Janvi Verma, Treasurer, Student Executive Council of Exime University, to come forward and felicitate Mr. San Naik.
Thank you very much, sir. We now move forward to felicitate the prize winners of the quiz competition. The quiz was organized for the topic of green hydrogen and was conducted for the children of 11th and 12th standard. and this was conducted on 19th of November through online mode. Now I would request Mrs. San Nayak to just give the prize to the winner.
The first prize goes to Mr. Pratik Balmantre from 10th grade from DAV Public School. Thank you, sir. Now we would like to invite Professor Dr. Sutapa Pati, Dean, School of Sustainability, to come forward and give away the second prize to Ms. Shruti Mishra of 12th grade from Buxi Jagbanda School. Thank you, sir, and thank you, ma'am. And thank you, students, for coming all the way and collecting your prizes. We have come to the end of a wonderful, insightful session. To conclude, I would like to invite Ms. Elizabeth Joseph, SM Secretary, Student Executive Council, Exime University, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Joseph, and it is an absolute honor to propose the vote of thanks on behalf of the School of Sustainability, Exime University. I want to convey my deepest gratitude to the Vice Chancellor of Exime University, Father Anthony R. Ubri SJ, for his constant mentorship and support. I am also thankful to the Registrar, Father Anthony Raj SJ, for his constant support to our school, always being available for us to reach out to and allowing us to do more. I thank our guest of honor, Mr. Eric So, for his enlightening keynote address. I also extend my regards to Mr. Rajendra Prasad for his gracious presence at today's event and his informative talk. I also would like to thank our panelists, Mrs. San Nayak, Mrs. Santosh K. Gurnath, Dr. Kalpana, and Mr. Sailesh Sirmal for their positive contribution to today's event. Hearty gratitudes towards Mr. San Nayak for taking his precious time out to join us today. Thank you, sir. I want to express my profound gratitude to the Dean of the School of Sustainability, Dr. Professor Sutapa Pati, for her guidance and helping us make this conference a grand success. I also want to thank Dr. Arup Roy for initiating this conference, which was one of its kind and a great initiative on its own. Ever grateful to Professor Vikram Vijay Patil for his unwavering support. I want to convey my gratitude to Mr. Akshay Kumar Sahu from the Asian Age Deccan Chronicle and also Hindalco for partnering and supporting our event. I would also like to thank Pratik and Shruti, our Green Hydrogen Quiz winners, for being here and being part of this conference. Next, I would like to thank all the support staff and especially our dear Bhainas. Without their help, the event would have been entirely incomplete. Lastly, we have been very fortunate to be backed by a team of student committees working non-stop to make this event a success. My deep sense of appreciation to everybody present here physically and virtually. I want to take the opportunity to congratulate Dr. Arup Roy for spearheading the Green Hydrogen India's Energy Transition Conference 2022. Thank you again, and I wish you all a great day.
Thank you, students, for attending and participating actively in the conference. Thank you all for making this event a success. Thank you.